Firstly, let's kick off. So everyone, welcome to our webinar today. It's SOA 2.0, Advanced with AI-powered automation. We're delighted to have everyone, and I suppose let's start with why did we want to have the webinar today? So for anyone that maybe doesn't know us or has known the School of Automation, we've been in business now for 4.5 years. That, you know, way back when we first started with Jorge and Marc and Afonso, we brought this sort of training and education to the market. And obviously some time ago, when we first started getting going, I don't know where the time has gone, but it has definitely flown by. And now what we're starting to see over the last year at least, technology moves, software changes, there's been lots of changes in the market. So it's only right as a training organisation that we should also evolve and move as a training organisation in this space. So the webinar has been put together to show you what have we changed, why are we changing, where's the market going. So hopefully we can share some of that in our thoughts and thinking in our new curriculum, new programmes. So firstly, let's have a look at the agenda today. So obviously some introductions we'll start with Jorge, our CEO. We'll then move to some market trends and why AI, where are we going, what's happening in the sector with Luke, our CTO. And then we'll dive into the detail of what does that mean for the school? How have we evolved our training offerings, our catalogue, our programmes and curriculum? With Yuliya, our commercial director, and myself, we'll give you some detail on that. And then we have some funding opportunities. So around the detail of the training and the programmes, there is some funding that sits alongside that I will be able to share with you in a little bit of detail. And then we've got at the end some Q&A. So if I could probably just highlight now before we sort of kick off and get going and do our first introduction, the Q&A function is at the top of your screen there, you should be able to see. If you have any questions and you think of anything as we move on through the slides, please use the Q&A function and we'll pick that up at the end and hopefully do our best to answer any questions. So if I could firstly then just introduce Jorge. Jorge, we started this journey 4.5 years ago together. So do you want to come in and try to set the scene regarding the school, where we were, where we're going, share a little bit.
Of course. Thanks, Marc, for the introduction. It's really exciting to be here today and talking about SOA, School of Automation 2.0. It's really, this moment represents really an important milestone in our history. Okay, as you said, time flies. 4 years went by. A lot of students went through the school. A lot of professional training and academies went by, and it was right and the right moment for us to rethink our ethos and our mission to reposition the school towards these new opportunities that AI and automation market is bringing, that we'll cover later on. Just for those who don't know the school that well, we were born 4 years ago with two main missions. One is to consolidate an offer on professional training. We, as a ABP Global Group, we were receiving every day more and more requests around, we want training on robotics, we need training on BPM, we want training on content management. So instead of doing these in a random way, we decided that it was time to structure an offer of training, professional training and automation, to be able to give to our clients something structured, that could be tailored, but structured, using ABP Global skills. We have thousands of projects in these technologies and hundreds of professionals that can bring not only the theoretical part of it to our clients, but also the hands-on experience of being in the field and delivering clients. So making the conversation way more I would say this more than just reading books. It's bring those hands-on experience, making the mistakes on a day-to-day basis and trying to teach and guide our clients not to make the same mistakes again. So that was one important aspect. The second one was, of course, we needed to. There's a huge gap of talent in automation and AI. There is, and there will be as technology evolves. So we wanted to make part of that transformation, and we wanted to help build an ecosystem of professionals, highly sophisticated. But instead of just going and target newly grads, we decided that as part of our ethos, we want to help people build careers in automation. So we started working with local governments to chase people coming from disadvantaged backgrounds, to give them opportunities to really find an option for life, and an option that could transform their lives at the same time that we would be creating this talent. And we are very proud of the numbers that we achieved. We have almost 400 students gone through our schools in 4 years. It's with a lot of satisfaction that we see almost 85% of our students that went from the full cycle of our academies. Okay, and kudos to the Scottish government that was the first one to believe in what we were doing. 85% of them have careers in automation after completing our trainings in 12 months. Okay, so this means that it's not just giving the training and trying to do something on that space. The majority of our students, if not all of our students, after 12 months of completing the training, they are working in the automation space. So it really fulfills our hearts to understand that we are not just creating talent, but we are giving opportunity to people that previous ex-militaries, kids that dropped university, that dropped high school. We are working with a lot of unemployed people. So more than just go and tackle the universities and the highly skilled people, we are really doing something that is meaningful. So it's been a journey, a long journey that culminates with what we're going to present today, and what and what we're going to present to you guys. But just to say that the school is not alone, as I told you. We fit within a larger group called ABP Global, where we have other companies in the automation space, ABP Consultancy, we have other projects in this area, and ABP Global has a 360 offer on automation and AI, where training is a part of it. Okay, it's these mechanics of being able to do consultancy work, to be able to do delivery, to be able to support clients after the build is done, but also allow clients to develop their own competence through the school and build their own capacity. That is important for us to cover all of these. So it's not just a standalone training project, it's a training project that fits within a full offer of automation and AI. And we probably, the reason why we distinguish from the other traditional schools is these synergies that we can create across the group, and the experience that we get on our day-to-day basis and what we do. Okay, so with no further delays, okay, I just want to introduce Luke, our CTO from the school, and again, a lot of the people that know us know that we gave a lot of training on RPA, a little bit on BPM. We were very focused on a lot of the times in just development, but the market is changing, okay? And that's a rationale why we are now talking about the SOA 2.0, and we are talking about AI. It's because a lot of things happened since we started in 2020. By the way, March 2020, really in the peak of the pandemic, out of curiosity. So look, guide us a little bit on what you see, and just before I skipped a slide, okay, of course, the guys that you have in front of you is the new team on SOA, Luke as CTO, Yuliya as our commercial director, and Marc, that you already know, as our operations director. But coming back to you, Luke, tell me, where is the market going, okay?
Thank you, George. And I can give a bit of context just in terms of some of the trends we're seeing across the market, especially in the intelligent automation space at the moment. So let's talk about why intelligent automation is essentially becoming more accessible these days. It used to be something only big companies with deep pockets and large IT teams could really get into. So what we're seeing is the barrier to entry. It is really lowering in this space, although there's a breadth of capabilities and technologies that are being added to these platforms, and as we're all aware, intelligent automation is always changing. There's new products, capabilities, services. So let me just give a bit of a rundown in terms of why the barrier to entry for intelligent automation is lowering. So firstly, we have low-code, no-code platforms. So these are really a game changer because they allow technical users and people who don't, non-technical users, sorry, or people who don't have deep IT expertise to actually build automation systems, automation applications without the need and knowledge of some of the core skills. So it's a good starting point for non-technical staff. With Gen AI and AI being embedded into some of the technologies and vendors, it makes it a lot simpler for non-technical users to get started in the platform. So whereas typically you'd need breadth of experience and knowledge on technology, is a lot easier for non-technical staff to get started. So that doesn't mean they need to ignore the technical foundational skills and not understand any additional technology, but it's a good starting point for those users to actually begin that journey or transition into IT and technology. Then there are pre-built solutions. So companies no longer need to start from scratch. A lot of the time there's pre-built processes or applications or AI models which are available out of the box from some different platforms, vendors, which it provides a good starting point. So what you typically end up doing is taking that model or process and augmenting it on your business data. So you're starting much later in that journey. You're not starting from building models or processes from the ground up. You're actually taking that and augmenting it with your business context, business rules. So it's a lot simpler and a lot quicker. So it's a faster time to value in terms of delivery of automation. We're also seeing the adoption of cloud-based tools starting to become more predominant in this space. So it reduces the overhead of IT teams. There's no longer a burden on your IT teams to actually spin up and create this infrastructure. A lot of the time you can move down a SaaS offering or a SaaS route, which allows you to not worry so much about the platform as a whole or the platforms you're using, but instead focus on the delivery of the automations and the processes. So it's a lot easier and less maintenance in terms of where the market's going in terms of cloud-based tools. We also can't ignore AI democratization. Thanks to things like pre-trained models and auto machine learning, accessing AI isn't just for data scientists no more. Even non-experts can leverage powerful AI tools to implement better decision-making, valuable insights. So again, it's a lot quicker to get started. You don't need to be a data scientist and build the core models. You've got a starting position and then you augment and move forward. And just final point from me, I guess it's really the integration. So these automation tools are becoming a lot easier to integrate with your wider business, whether that's your CRM, ERP, whatever tech stack that is. These tools have integrations that are available, so it's much quicker to embed or integrate into your existing tech stacks. So again, connectors available out of the box, which just reduces the time it takes to build and develop automations, and it's a lot easier for non-technical staff or users to actually embed that. So overall, what we're seeing is that intelligent automation is no longer an exclusive, complicated technology. It's starting to become a lot easier to use as time goes on. Yuliya, could you flick over to the next slide, please? So let's talk about how automation and AI are increasingly being integrated and delivered by the same teams across a business. So in the past, you might have had separate teams or technical users, developers that were responsible for data and AI and automation. What we're starting to see is the merge of these teams with a unified team managing everything from automation to AI and data analytics. You get much smoother and a more collaborative approach. We're finding that within the market today, businesses and organizations are using a combination of both automation and data and AI to deliver a solution or an outcome within their organization. So we're seeing a lot of, instead of having standalone silo teams across your data scientists and your automation developers, we're seeing the convergence of that team. So they're working in parallel to deliver an outcome for the business. So again, moving forward in future, I can see that we'll see a lot more of that coming together. So using automation, data and AI to deliver an outcome for a business. Yuliya, I think we skipped over one of the slides. If you could, amazing. So final topic in terms of market trends. It's really how automation tools are evolving. So previous years, you typically had specialist vendors who would focus predominantly on a single capability. So what we're starting to see now is automation vendors are starting to embed additional capabilities into the platform. So whether that's discovery tools, process mining, or communications mining, to uncover what's happening within your organization. So understanding how a business process is executed across your organization. We're seeing a lot more capabilities being embedded into a single platform, which is a major shift. It means you have access to a breadth of solutions, technologies at your fingertips within a single vendor. So it's not just about using one technology or capability to solve a business problem. Typically RPA for repetitive rule-based processes was a perfect candidate for automation. But now what we're seeing is a hybrid approach. So using a combination of process mining to actually uncover what's happening within your organization, how is the business executing that business process on a day-to-day, what are the bottlenecks, what are the costs associated to that process, and then using those tools to actually identify opportunities for automation, and then using the combination of data and AI, RPA, business process management, or process orchestration to actually orchestrate those customer journeys. So again, we're seeing a breadth of new capabilities, and I guess that neatly swivels into our next topic, which is our course catalogue. So I'll hand over to Yuliya, our commercial director, who will talk us through the changes and what we're actually providing as part of that.
Thank you, Luke. So as my colleagues talked from the beginning of the webinar, so one of the main missions of the school is to focus on the professional trainings. And this is not only for the individuals, but we really wanted to help our customers in their journeys in automation as well as in AI. And one of the topics that we really thought through carefully and taking into consideration all the market trends that Luke has talked about actually ended with a very great and thought through expanded catalog of the trainings that we now would like to provide to our organizations, our customers, as well as the learners that are going through the academies in SOA. When we talked and had feedbacks with our customers, we actually looked into what are those important stages in their automation journey where they would need to have more knowledge, skills, as well as the trends, following the trends, and how they can actually fulfill the gap in those skills. And we identified 4 main categories that would be discover. And in the discover category, actually, we summed up lots of different tools that would be very useful and necessary for a person to identify those opportunities for the process optimization and automation. And we actually would like to be more of the vendor agnostic in our approach, because we also know with all the market trends, with the technology changes, there are lots of different vendors out there in the market who actually provide various opportunities and various tools to tackle different problems. And all of those solutions would be either good for very specific problem or could be a really great solution if they are in a hybrid mode. The second category would be orchestrate and automate. So that's the category where we would see all the necessary tools, methodologies, skills that would be necessary for an individual or the Center of Excellence team in order to actually automate those processes, as well as how do we orchestrate all of that, how do we monitor all of that, and make people work smoothly with the systems. And this is also brings us to the third category, which is an operate category. And in this category, we have all the necessary courses dedicated to the governance, the monitoring of the processes in order to optimize those on the enterprise level, I would say. And the last category is the newest, I would say. It is focused on the AI. So what are those AI-powered solutions out there that would be very beneficial for individuals and organizations to be implemented and used within their systems today? And taking into consideration the categories, we looked at the roles, typical roles that we've seen in the Center of Excellence teams within our customers. We've identified 6 main roles that would be very typical, and we designed our category catalog based on the roles. So when we look at the discovery pillar, you would find different trainings like communications mining, process mining, task mining, and so on. But these are not just the trainings that any individual would go through the same content, but the content would be different based on the role that this individual takes in the organization. If we look into more details, how we structured the catalog. So the 6 main roles that we identified within the organization that deal with automation and AI would be general business analyst, developer, senior developer, architect, project manager, and business user. So when we look at the necessary trainings that would be, as well as tools and methodologies, so we put the trainings and the content around the necessary content that would fit to those specific roles. So and when you look, for example, to the discover category, you would identify that not every role would be ready to specific material, for example, or some of the knowledge would not be that important for that specific role. So there are those which are very critical ones. would be necessary to be taken, and we actually build the learning path for each role based on that. So if you are a business analyst, you would definitely look into the possibilities to learn and upskill yourself in terms of the tools that would be necessary for identification of the processes necessary for the automation, and those could be related to the communications mining, task mining, pipeline management, the analysis and the business readiness, and what is it to be the automation champion, and so on. So this is the logic that we put through the catalog when we designed it. So if we go to the second category, which is the orchestrate and automate, here you can find all the necessary trainings that would actually help you to skill and reskill sometimes, or upskill your team in terms of what are those necessary skills and knowledge that would be necessary for the developer, for example. So once he deals with the, it's not just a robotics process automation anymore, where we started, but it is also all the additional information that he would need to deal with on a daily basis if he is looking into how do I implement that project, how do I test my automations, how do I use different technologies if I have documents. So how would document capture and recognition be useful, and how can I use those technologies to make our processes and organization more efficient and productive? And is there any way for me to maybe build some applications? How do I connect different applications that we have, and maybe build our own in-house application that would fit business user needs, as well as how do I actually manage the business process, and is there anything that would help me to manage the content, and then so on. So as I mentioned before, each of the categories is for every user, let's say, and every role, and we looked into the content that would be very suitable, and the deepest knowledge that would be necessary for every single category. So in the operate category, we have courses that would be necessary for governance of the systems and management. And this is where we would have the automation strategy, insights, dashboarding. So once we do have those processes in the organization, how do we actually visualize those? How do we see the return on investment? How do we see what is working, what is not, and how many hours or minutes or documents have been processed so far, and how do we track all of that, as well as how do we orchestrate all the processes in the seamless process, as well as what are those necessary automation operations needed around that. And then if we are going into the AI side, so you can get the deep knowledge and a deep dive into the AI with the trainings that will be focused around what is the AI, different methodologies, different versions, let's say, what is in the data handling and storage, intelligence search and content. How do we use the conversational AI in our processes? What is it? And how do we actually make some changes in the organization in order to secure the data, and what are those necessary governance policies would be necessary for any organization to deal with AI within their technology and automations. So with this saying, I would want to pass the word to our operations director, Marc Cooper, who will take you through the career path area that which is a second area of our concentration and work. So, Marc, I would give the word to you.
Thank you, Yuliya. I think if we maybe just stop and pause for just a second, right? Because even myself, when I look at that, that's a vast amount of training, right? And I suppose the school have come a long way, even just now we're at this point where we have this offering. So I think to just pause, particularly for maybe some people in the call, to think, where do you see yourself in that? Where do you fit, right? And I think it will probably bring me on nicely to where I'm going with our career paths and our offering, because when you think about all the technology right across that end-to-end cycle, from discovery, development, testing, putting things into production, governance, there's so many job roles that sit within that, and there's so many pieces of software and tech that sit within that, right? And I think what Yuliya's done there is just explaining any sort of business right now on this journey automation. Do you have gaps there? Do you see job roles there? Do you see different trainings that could maybe enhance and help where you are in the journey? And every client is different. We speak to clients on a daily basis, and some are just at the very start getting started, and maybe you don't need all of this just yet. And some clients we speak to have got like hundreds of bots running in the background, right? Which they're really advanced, and they're going to weigh in AI and things. So suppose what we're saying from our side is, we want our professional catalogue to help businesses wherever you are. If you're right at the very start of the journey, or right at the very sort of, you're taking off and you're one of the front leaders in this space, we hope that we can help you wherever you are, right? So I suppose just to pause for a second, on that and think that through. This probably leads me in nicely to the career pathways. Jorge, did you want to come in for a sec? Do you want to
I just wanted to highlight something on what you said, reinforce that. And also, if you look into the catalog, there's a lot of introduction courses, okay? Because one of the things that we see overall on ABP Group is there's a lot of buzzwords, there's a lot of technologies, right? And it's more confusing than education on some sense. So we also made an effort to create some content to help our clients navigate this sea of buzzwords, right? So what does it mean, automation? How can I educate my teams to understand where automation can leverage that work, okay? And more than just be thinking about FTEs reduction, that's not where people are at this moment. Is how do I take advantage of automation and AI to do more with the same people and the same teams, right? So, but what does it mean? Where do I start? How do I organize myself? What the hell is conversational AI versus chatbots? What's the difference, right? Yeah. What's the gains? How do I combine all of these things? It's not so much about bits and bytes. It's not about products. It's about understanding the capabilities, how they can synchronize between themselves to get to the outcomes that we want. How do I educate my teams to understand what technology can do? When they come and speak with ABPs, ABCs, ABDs, they are more educated in terms of, this is the ask, this is what I need, find me a solution in terms of technology to cover for these aspects. But it's having an educational conversation with suppliers, but also an educated conversation internally to better spot the opportunities and understand how ROIs can be improved by using that same technology. So it's really important to cover all of these aspects. Okay, sorry to interject. Please, Marc, continue.
No, you make a really good point, Jorge. And there are clients who just don't know where to start, maybe, and they need some help and support, and they're at different levels, and that's actually okay. And I think hopefully our catalogue and our offering meets you wherever you are in your journey. Hopefully we've got different offerings that meet you there. But that probably brings me on nicely to the career paths that we offer, because in the world of tech and automation, and we've just seen maybe some of the complexity there is, imagine you're someone thinking about a new career. Imagine you're just starting out in your career from leaving school or wherever you are, or maybe you've been working in a sector or an industry that you need a change, you need to move. how do you actually do that, right? And I think this is one of the, this is the part of the offering that, you know I'm passionate about, I know George's passionate about, and the rest of the team is, how can we offer that foot in the door? Where do people start in terms of their career? And I suppose from a training provider view, our view is, how do we build a curriculum that allows them to take those steps forward and actually go on and have a career in this space? So, very quickly, recap is when we started back in 2020, as George said earlier, we started in Scotland, and we ran a program there, a pilot program that evolved into modern apprenticeships. We then quickly moved to Ireland at the time, not long after, and we worked with the Education Training Board there at Limerick and Clare, and we brought this offering and this curriculum to people in Ireland. And then subsequently this year, actually at the start of this year, we were able to bring the offering and the curriculum and the career path to people in England. So from a school point of view, this part in terms of the career pathways, we want to build that curriculum, and by working with government and skills agencies in these different locations, we can bring these opportunities to more and more people. And as George said, what's our aim and our role here is we want to provide the ecosystem, the automation ecosystem, and that can be clients all over the country, right? Of where do they find skills and talent and resources that have the competence to be able to go in and fit in with their teams, so that they can then, scale and move their automations. So yeah, look, as you see, there's on the slide there, you'll see right back in 2020, I think there's our very first group, right? And I think that takes us back. I know George and Marc are on the call here, but that takes us back, a long time when we first get started. As George touched on as well, that was in COVID, right? And that was probably the most challenging times, and a lot of businesses could probably relate to that, as we kicked this off and we kicked this journey off in the middle of COVID. Call us crazy, but we've done it anyway. And here we are today talking about SOA 2.0 and where we are and how we're evolving. Probably one of the biggest changes that we're seeing within the career pathways is we started with, some of those vendors you see there right at the sort of right-hand side in terms of core software. We first started there, all right? And as Luke touched on as well, some of the software in terms of low code, no code, we knew, and the expertise that we had in our team, we knew that young people could learn this. We knew the software had evolved that much, that young people could learn this, and they could be valuable over a period of time, and after they had their training, they could go back in and add value to business within the automation space. And we did start off in terms of training. When you look at that job role that Yuliya touched on, think of all the job roles, we first focused on that developer track. How can we create more developers in the market? Because back 4 years ago, that's where the market was. They needed more RPA developers at the time, and we were there to provide that sort of that pathway for resources into the sector. And that's where we first started. But let's fast forward 4 years, and as Luke touched on, where the market's going and where the trends are going, and we see more and more about AI and the integration of AI within automation, which means technology vendors were starting to add different advancements within their platform. So we weren't just dealing with RPA anymore, we were actually dealing with multiple tools. And that's actually right. When you think about a business problem, to only use one tool to solve it never made sense, right? That we always needed more tools. And what we see now is within these vendor platforms, the tools are there. So from there, we're having to go back the way and backtrack a little bit, looking at our curriculum and program to see, okay, when we're seeing the tools evolve and the technology evolve, what does that mean for our learners? Because we need to meet our learners where they are. So we have a program in place and a curriculum in place that we have now altered and made changes to. And you'll see what you'll see from there. You see that sort of we start with some solid tech foundations, and you'll see some of the detail that sits below that. That we want to make sure that before we start with our learners in the program, before we introduce the vendor technology, we want to bed in some key foundations in training, right? Because we know through our team and our experience that will stand them in good stead. So wherever the vendor goes and whatever introduction of AI, with this solid foundation in training, the learners will pick this up and advance more quickly. So we have redesigned this over the last number of months, and we look at tech foundations, we look at the programming, we look at data modeling, we look at sort of integration, and maybe look, this could be a nice time to bring you in because you really helped our team design this, right?
Yeah.
We've done this in collaboration with our technical training team, along with Luke and his expertise. Luke, do you want to maybe make us some comments on why is that important that we start with some tech foundations?
Yeah, I think you covered it quite nicely, Mark.
Yeah.
I think it's really laying those foundations. It's delivering UiPath, all the technologies, that's essentially building the house, but we're giving them exposure and knowledge to everything that sits around that or outside of that. It's understanding the landscape, where you're deploying the technology, what's the surrounding system. So I guess it's ensuring that they've got the right foundational knowledge in order to understand where they're deploying processes, what type of applications. So it's the lay of the land, really, trying to understand and give them that supporting technology knowledge, no matter what capability they work with, whether that is RPA or business process management, is ensuring they're well equipped or well versed before they move into those technologies. So yeah, I think you covered it perfectly, Mark.
Yeah, and you know, and I'm quite happy to say this. George challenged us as a team, right? And I know he does regularly, and we welcome it. The challenge is what we were doing previously. We were creating RPA developers for the market, and the market needed them. But now the market shifted and moved. But what we want to do is we want to prepare people in terms of this curriculum to not only have jobs in RPA, but to have the full rounded skill set that they could actually go off and have jobs. When Yuliya shared her slides and you think of all those job roles that sit across the full end to end, what we're saying is that hopefully if we embed this new training, this new foundational training, the learners will be able to go into various job roles within the sector, right? And not just like a one-way track, all right? And, you know, and I know George has been on at that all the time, and we've now got to the point, right? And I'm delighted with this. We've got to the point where we've redesigned this with where we're going in sight, right? It's not just, we didn't just make this up, right? We can see where the market's going. We can see where technology's going. And I suppose our responsibility within this is we've got to prepare people for where tech is going, where the jobs of the future will go and where they will be and where the demand will be. So that's the sort of rationale behind why did we make some of these core changes and what we want to do going forward with our sort of foundation curriculum between a sort of 12 to 16 weeks that we have on the programme. This is what we want to start to implement, all right? And ultimately, the end goal is to have a learner much more well-rounded in terms of the learning, what they know, to then go and have a career within the sort of automation landscape and all the various roles that potentially would be there. All right. One thing I do want to touch on here is, as well as the foundation training, for those who are on the call, they'll know that foundation training lasts for maybe 12 to 16 weeks that we have working with the learners, right? But what we do know is learning never stops, right? Within this space, things evolve, things move. And when I spoke to the guys a long time ago about automation and where it's going and the amount of tech that's in it, it's mind-blowing, right? It's staggering the amount of software that's related, all right, in some way. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that the learners that complete the 12-week or 16-week, where do they go next? What should they be learning next? What are the other softwares and tools that will complement what they currently know? And this particular slide here relates to the sort of training we have in Ireland, where we do the the 12-week, 16-week foundation training, and then we move on to a year-long traineeship. As part of that traineeship, our students get work experience with clients, but what we also do is we also upskill them in complementary software and technology, right? So their learning never stops. Even though they're getting work experience with clients, we want to be able to introduce new tech that will help them and complement what they currently know. And you'll see there, we break that into different quarters, and we touch on things like, you know, for the UiPath specialised AI, we have Microsoft and their Power Automate and Power Apps. We've now got IBM and Watson X, and we have another sort of vendor, Camunda. All of this training and all of these things all sort of relate to the automation space. And what we know is if we can embed some of this training within the learners, they will have a much better chance of success when it comes to employment, when it comes to applying for jobs and showing the skills and knowledge that they have. This will stand them in good stead. Next, let me go to our funding opportunities. All right, so very quickly then, sort of the last couple of slides from me is, as well as the career pathways and the professional training, there is government funding available. All right, so available for either the learner or businesses and clients to tap into. So we think of the UK, there is funding models that we currently have there at the moment. So we think of those career pathways. We work with the Department for Education and Skills Development Scotland across the UK. And for those wanting to go on that career pathway, we have 100% funded programmes for those people who are unemployed, that obviously have the right to live and work in either England or Scotland. And that's that foundation programme with the aim of obviously embedding the training and then supporting you with interviews and jobs into the sector. All right. Subsequent to that as well, for businesses and clients, that professional training, so the training catalogue that Yuliya had shown, we do have a contract with Department for Education for co-funding, which is 70% of this training is funded, all right? And that's for employers to upskill and reskill their own internal teams. If you are building out your team in automation and you look at our catalogue, where do you see there's a whole raft of training in there that we can offer? And hopefully this training is designed to enable clients to tap into this with the help of ourselves to reskill and upskill your internal teams. And then in Ireland, we have the same sort of models. We work with Limerick and Clare Education Training Board there. And again, the career pathways for people just starting in the sector and wanting to find a career. We have a slightly different programme where we have a 12-week programme to start, and then a 12-month programme, which is a traineeship that follows on with that, where we can get students work experience with clients. All right, and obviously their industry certification. So that's a pathway and a track that exists in Ireland that's fully funded. And then again, there's professional training with Limerick and Clare. There is a funding called Skills to Advance, funding that employers and clients could potentially tap into to hopefully deliver that sort of training and upskilling piece to their employees. So if anyone in the call or anyone listening to this, if you are interested in anything that you've seen today, or you do have questions, so there is time right now to use the Q&A function at the top.
Let me just make a comment, Mark, on your previous slide, if you don't mind. I think it's a fantastic opportunity. The funding options that both the Irish and the British government opened, it's really important, and in a time where we all need to reskill and upskill our teams, okay, having the opportunity to be funded by both governments to do that is something that it should make very attractive for companies that are looking for training. Okay, of course you still need to invest your people's time to go to those training, and having that cost covered or partially covered or fully covered by public funds, it's something extremely important and that should be seen with a lot of attention. Okay, so guys, if there is the time an ideal time to do it and to train your teams, get funds out of that, it's now. Okay, I don't know how many times this opportunity will repeat, but it's a really opportunity to do that at a very controlled cost. Okay, sorry, Marc.
Yeah,
No,
just
yeah, I was
just to
just sort of finishing
elaborate.
up. Go on, Yuliya. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, to elaborate, because the beauty of the training, when you have it and the funds behind that, is flexibility of the agenda, the curriculum that could be put together and tailored to your organization's need, as well as the timetable could be very flexible. So this is where we would work with the organization to find the best timing for those who will be in this group, the learners, so that they can continue their day-to-day jobs, as well as continue the learning, and then put those learnings and skills into the actual practical outputs in the organization. So that's the very beauty of it as well. And having the fund behind it as support of the government is really a great opportunity.
Thanks, Yuliya. We have 10 minutes left of the webinar. We've got a Q&A function, so please, if anyone's on the call, you've got a question of any of the slides and topics that we've been speaking about today, please put that in the Q&A chat. We have one question here. I'll read that out. Is there a trend where vendors are struggling to balance the cost of employing human programmers with implementing AI on RPA market? George, Luke.
Maybe I'll leave Luke to.
Could you repeat the question? Sorry, Marc.
Yeah, is there a trend where vendors are struggling to balance the cost of employing human programmers with implementing AI in the RPA market?
I guess it's a Sorry, George, go on.
I don't think there's a struggle, okay, to balance these types of training or balancing people. Of course, we just need to guarantee that people have the right foundations in order to be able to pursue and become more elastic on the technologies that they can touch. One of the lessons that we learned during these years as ABP Group, okay, while embracing automation and AI, is that we don't need different professionals to do it. Okay, we are not a data specialized company, so we don't need a huge absurd amount of data scientists of different specialization. Our engineers, with the core training that they have, with additional training on how to use these different technologies, they can very easily be converted or adapt to cover more than one thing. Okay.
Yeah,
as ABP Group, yes.
Just to add, George, I think that with any new technology, we've seen it with RPA, we've seen it with BPM, and I know at the moment AI is the biggest buzzword, but I think with any new technology, there's always a massive opportunity, and I think it's just getting ahead, making sure that you're well versed or well equipped with the right knowledge, training, because I know people, I see a lot of scaremongering in the news that AI will take all jobs, but it's just ensuring you're upskilling and reskilling in the right technologies, right space. That's all for me.
AI actually enables the technology, right? So if we would look at the technical robots, right? So in the past, we would do the physical work ourselves, and then technology came, the physical robots came, and now they do the heavy lifting and everything. And with the AI, so this is actually similar, I would say. So AI actually now enables all those technologies that are in the market now, and make all of that integrations and workflow go really smoothly, I would say, and people are a very essential part of it. So there will be no replacement, rather than how do we create a world in our life, in the business life, where both machines, robots, technology can work together with the humans. So this is where the human would use their let's say judgmental skills more now, and more the tactical and more repetitive work, or physical work would be done by technologies, machines, and so on. So and this is what the market trends are about, and this is what all the vendors actually go to within the time.
Thanks, Yuliya. Jorge, I have a question actually, and I think it touches on those. Yuliya shared the slides about the different personas when we look at the automation end to end. How important is training within those different personas? Because I think we see a lot of focus on the developer track. How important are those other personas?
It's important because we typically center these conversations, and I think we covered a little bit about this on technology elements, right? And technology today is being absorbed and adopted, and there's multiple initiatives coming from the business sides. So the fact that people has the technical skills to understand what technology can bring them, not on a technical perspective, but on a business operational perspective, right? I have a document. What can I do with it? It's still a physical paper. How can I extract the data? How can I have, for example, I have a huge amount of inbound emails. I know how I can handle it. I know what technologies can handle it, how I can influence and change my processes in order to absorb it. So that's where I think it's these days where we have business-led initiatives burning like popcorns everywhere inside of our organizations. It's important to guarantee that we gave them the tools to know what capabilities can do to them, how they can be transformative. Not ignoring IT. These initiatives don't exist with IT. Products are still needed. Technical competence are still needed. I haven't seen any successful implementation done antagonizing IT or vice versa, so that they need to be cooperate. But an educated business user will have a very different conversation with a technical guy in order to explain exactly what they want to do. So it's important to do this and to have these people well informed. So that's why we are making this investment is to bring. And one of the aspects that I would like to cover also is that looking at ABP Global, the most successful clients that they have, okay, are clients that develop internal competence. They don't delegate all of the execution of the transformation and automation into suppliers, okay? It's important for you to understand, or at least master part of that transformation, right? So that when you ask something, you know exactly what you want done, and you don't depend on just your partner's knowledge to bring you those skill sets and that transformation. And a lot of our clients, what they are doing is, for example, one of our largest clients, they picked a team on their customer operations services, and they said, instead of bringing any type of ABP company to inside, I'm going to teach my operational guys as technology specialists, so that when I have to drive transformation, I don't have to teach anyone my business, okay? Because the trick is who knows the business in order to drive correctly the transformation that I need to do, right? And nothing better than internal people to do it. We can bring technical guidance, we can bring the technology, we can bring the implementation, we can bring all of the ABPs, ABCs, ABDs can bring that, okay? But one of the biggest trends that we have seen in the market, and some of our most successful, we're talking about large-scale transformation programs, okay, are adopting this, is how do I educate and how do I give ammunition to my team in order for them to be the transformation specialists and not pushed by any consultancy firm to do that and break that dependency. And that's why training different personas and focusing on business people is as important as training developers. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, no, thanks, George. That's good. I think we've only got 1 minute remaining, so I think Yuliya, when we hand over.
There is one more question in the chat around. So some one of our attendees are asking about. I'm interested in upskilling an RPA developer. Yuliya will leave her contacts. Okay, so give her a shout. She will be able to. She will be able to do that. Yuliya, do you wanna just to wrap it up and say how we could be contacted?
Yes, sure, definitely. So first of all, you can definitely check our website, which is www.schoolofautomation.tech. So this is where you can definitely find all the information about the catalog, as well as all the information about all the funding opportunities and career path. So if you would like to receive an tailored offer, or for us to contact you back to sit down and really look into what you would like to achieve, how we can do this, what kind of trainings you would need to actually have in order to fulfill the gaps that you see in the organization. This is where you can submit your interest within the website for specific trainings, and we will come back definitely to you with more detailed information around that. As well as that, you can contact directly us at the end of the webinar. Within the couple of days, you will receive both the recording of the webinar as well as the slides with all the information. My email as well will be added there, so you can directly contact me or any of us who was presenting today, George, Luke, as well as Marc. But definitely we are looking forward to seeing you in the trainings, as well as for you to benefit from all those great opportunities that are there, supported by the government, as well as if you are looking into reskilling yourself or get a new career, this is where we would be a very good partner for you to take you through this great journey and then create the art of possible together, I would say. So, and with this great note, I thank to everyone who participated today. Thank you for your time. Thank you to all of us, our speakers today. And we wish you a very great day today and the rest of the week.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you. Bye-bye.